source that is being stationary, right? So when we use the permanent magnets instead of this electromagnet, we get we get it for the requirement of this presses and slip ring assembly, right? So basically, thus with the help of these permanent magnets, we thus dispensing the DC source requirement. We don't require any DC source, right? What else we dispenses is the slip rings and the brushes. Slip ring or brushes assembly bhi nahi chahiye, right? Slip ring and brushes. Also, along with this, we reduces the field winding losses, right? So field winding losses are also reduced. Field winding losses are also reduced, right? In fact, field winding are also being discarded, right? So we also dispenses the field winding losses, right? So these are the advantages that comes with the permanent magnet synchronous motor. But of course, it comes at the cost of some controllability, right? Some controllability which we have lost, as we have learned even in case of BLDC motors, right? In case of PMDC motors, right? Like we have PMSM, we may have a permanent magnet DC motor as well. We call them as PMDC, and similar thing will be there. What this PM stands for means the permanent magnet, right? So what this symbolizing, what this is being reflecting, this is reflecting that the rotor is made up of the permanent magnet, right? So now if we see the category of these permanent magnets, there are two types. One we call as surface mounted, and other we call them as interior or buried type, or buried. So these are the further two types of PMSM. What this surface mounted means? But we have learned that in case of permanent magnet synchronous motor, your rotor that is having the field, right? Now it will be having the permanent magnets, right? So basically, in case of permanent magnet synchronous motor that is of the surface mounted type, what we have is the magnets that are being placed on the surface of the rotor. So basically, permanent magnets are pasted on the surface of the rotor like this way, right? So these are the permanent magnets. So they are being pasted on the surface of the rotor by the epoxy, some glue, right? And this kind of permanent magnet synchronous motor is called as surface mounted permanent magnet synchronous motor. Whereas in case of interior or buried type, what is being done? These magnets, instead of being placing over the surface, they are being buried into the slots inside the rotor core, right? So they are being buried into this, and we call them as interior type. So there are two kind of permanent magnet synchronous motors. One, the surface mounted, other the interior or buried type. So we have four kind of synchronous motors: wound field, permanent magnet, synchronous reluctance, hysteresis motor, right? Here in this course we'll be more studying towards this conventional. We'll limit our study to this wound field synchronous motor only, right? Hopefully you could have now learned about these two, and you could have got an idea how do they differ from each other. Are you being able to understand? Are you being able to understand? क्या चल रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yes, sir. Basically, okay, I am closing this lecture over here only because this could be a new for you. But before I close, I want you to answer the following questions which can help you in understanding this behavior of this motor further, or this topic further, right? And these are the first three questions, right? One first of the, you had to answer this, right? This is an assignment. This is an assignment, right? And assignment is you have to answer. Question number one is why a synchronous motor, why a synchronous motor does not have starting torque, right? This is the first question which you had to answer. The second one is do you start how do you start a synchronous motor, right? The third question is state and explain the role of damper windings, right? And this second question is associated with the when we feed the synchronous motor with the constant frequency source, right? So you need to answer these three questions, and with the answer to these three questions, you'll feel that yes, now you understand the concept of the synchronous motor, right? You need not to worry. We will not go there is nothing new concept which will be introduced in this unit. Simply for the speed control. See, we are interested in the speed control as we are studying the electrical drives, and we already have learned that these motors are being run with the synchronous speed. They only operate with the synchronous speed, and we already have learned that synchronous speed can be varied by varying the frequency, right? So this is the only method which is being used to control the speed of this motor. So we already know now how can we control the speed of the synchronous motor, but we are still learning this such that we can have more and more knowledge about this motor. Okay.